could talk to anyone. Everyone's
Hello.
here.
Hi. Wait, is it waffles be dumb? Okay, wait, hold on. Okay, I'll go
Okay.
to starting soon again. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'll fix it because I've got to do something. So we're gonna go back to starting soon. Nothing happened. Nothing at all. You guys saw nothing. There was nobody here. There was no magic man behind the curtain. Oh, that's the wrong button again. There we go. Perfect. Hello.
Hey,
We're
all working.
live.
We're all good
It
now.
works.
We're
Yeah,
not doing the dumps.
I
We're not doing the
didn't
scuffed. We're
screw it
not.
up again. Definitely not. I'm
That's
a professional
Waffles just
streamer. I never
screwing up
screw things
everything. Who
up.
would
Of
ever thought
course,
that?
no.
Who would have ever imagined that happening? Hello,
Yeah, no.
everybody. Once again, welcome to the Waffle Brand Cast. We're back after a few weeks off, right?
Yeah, after a few weeks, I think it's been like 3 weeks or something like that. And then last time we
Something.
did the reviewing the junk stream. I think the last stream I named was just regret.
The last stream was regret. It was titled regret. If you did
The
not see that
last
stream,
podcast was just regret.
yeah, if you did not see the podcast called just regret, go back and watch it. It is a very interesting one. It is us reviewing our drunk stream, which we did a week or two prior, I think,
Yeah.
from that one. So we basically go over clips of us being drunk, and a lot of them are waffles, and a lot of them are waffles explaining himself and trying to remember what even happened that night.
Yeah, explaining myself is that's reaching. I more like just face palming as I watch myself commit atrocities online.
And while we're on here, while we're starting it off, I said I would do this anyways, but go follow Waffles at onlyfans.com/waffles
Where I'm streaming this right now. The Waffle Brand podcast. You guys can only see from our heads up. Go to the OnlyFans to see the rest of us. see everything from the waist down.
God, questionable.
Hey Chandler, how's it going? Yeah, so our topic today, we were gonna decide to discuss the metaverse and VR and things like that, and potentially the future of like where VR is heading as a medium. All
Yeah.
sorts of.
I was just responding to a Discord message here. No, yeah, our main topic today is going away from all of our previous subjects, and we'll see where it takes us. As we commonly know that things do not stay always the same with us, and they very wildly range in topics that we'll go to. As we
We've
talk.
always, I don't know what you're talking about. We've always stayed on topic perfectly. To
Waffles
a
has
T.
always stayed on topic.
I have always stayed on topic. Brand keeps distracting me.
Oh yeah, I'm totally the distraction here. I'm
Every
totally
time.
not the one that keeps you on track. Yeah, there's
what? No, I'm like an arrow, straight and narrow. I go right for the topic. I tackle these topics head on, the topics we all care about and want to talk about. I never stray.
the only time you stay on topic is when you're drunk.
But
That's because there was no
somebody get the booze then.
topic. God, no more booze. We already drank once this week. I don't think
Yeah,
we'll do it again.
we drank. For anybody who doesn't know, we drank a whole bunch on Friday, playing Back for Blood and killing zombies, and that was interesting. That was I actually did pretty good. I think I did awesome. To be fair, I was drunk, so what may seem awesome to me
You ran in
is
there.
probably
like a
not the case for
buffoon.
everybody else.
You purposely ran in there like a buffoon.
You know when you're
Your
drunk and you
setup
think
was
you're
a
like
buffoon.
if anybody's ever played like video games drunk, you're like, I'm doing so good, I'm doing amazing, look at me go, and like everybody else you're like playing Halo and you're like spinning around in circles and everyone is watching you and you're just sitting there like missing all your shots and you're like, I'm doing the best, and they're like, what's wrong with that guy? Yeah, that's pretty much me. I'm back for
That's
blood.
waffles.
Hi, Plasma.
Yeah,
And
we're
Yellow.
gonna. So one of the big things that have been happening in mainstream media a lot more common recently, a lot of news reports have come out on things like VR, Metaverse, and a bunch of all this other stuff. And unsurprisingly, with Facebook coming into the industry and everything, and them starting to have more of an influence in creating their own platform, obviously called Metaverse. That's the
Right.
definition of why everything's been going like that. Why is there a menu on top of my face?
Sorry, I was trying to turn you up because I think you're a little quiet on my.
Am I
Sorry.
quiet? I can turn myself up.
Yeah, I'll turn you up a little bit. No, I got
I
you.
can turn myself up.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll turn it back down. There we go.
Well, you gotta tell me what you're doing because I gotta play with my mixer.
Yeah.
That's the case.
Brad, nobody wants to watch you play with your mixer.
Well, we're on.
Brad, that's for the OnlyFans. That's what we do in the
This is already what we're starting with, hey. No, but a lot of things have been talked about differently, and a lot of them have been very true information. A lot have been very false information. There has been more false or skewed information, I'd say, rather than the truthful stuff that's been coming out. And there was, and it happened over these past couple of weeks. So we're a little bit late on this one, but we did need to miss last week for many different reasons. And I kind of just wanted to talk about them just because we have experience in, again, I'm gonna go quote Metaverse and everything.
Yes, we have
well, 'cause-
experience in the Metaverse.
Well, again, because I hate saying Metaverse because like it's a
Because that's what
branded
everybody calls
name.
it now, right?
Yeah, it's like a branded name rather than what it actually is. It's like I don't know even know what to really call it, what it is, but
Yeah.
it is metaverse. But there, it's also been quoted as that's Facebook's thing. So like saying
Right.
metaverse around is
Facebook
just
is
such a
Meta.
weird. It is now, and it's such a confusing thing for me because like I don't even know where
Because
to
nobody
start with
knows
it.
what it is. Like, there's just so much information going this way and that way about VR and the metaverse, and like Facebook's trying to do their own thing, but they're also branding this, and people are kind of lumping like things like VR chat and stuff like that with
Yeah,
metaverse, which is, well,
they're
that's
they're
just
conf- yeah.
boy.
So exactly. So this is all the confusion and stuff. And again, so be considering again we have experience in metaverse.
Right.
I wanted to talk about it and have our side of
I
it
have put a
because we
screen in front of my face and danced around like a monkey. It
yeah.
is. It's a
Yeah,
lot,
so
yeah.
I think it's something good that we've had the experience, we've had the years in the past to reflect on what's gone on in the past that has happened and the future, the current situations, and then what we look at
Right.
for the future. So I think a good place to start is giving ourselves credit and saying,
Give yourself a pat on the back.
well, not in that way, but at least giving our ability to say the reason why we can talk about this stuff and explain or and give us our due
We
credit
have
of
the
what we've
experience.
experienced.
Yeah, we have the. To be fair, most of my experience in VR chat was not using a headset. So, me personally, I didn't use a headset for most of my time on VR chat.
And
I
metaverse doesn't necessarily need that.
right,
Especially VR chat stuff. So let's get into that. I guess start with that. Explain how many years you've been
a
at
lot,
least VR chat and stuff,
most
and
of it.
let's talk about our past together.
I mean, almost all my time in VR chat and in the experience of the VR world was not even in VR. It was like
Okay, when did you start? Let's start from the beginning. When did
Brand, you're going too
how many
far.
years
Help.
how many years ago did you when was the first time you saw a VR chat and started getting involved with the VR chat?
Jesus, Brand, you can't ask me questions about my past. My past
You
is a
could say
mystery.
3 to 4 years or something like that. Well, if you don't have to
Nobody
go
knows about
exactly
my
the years.
past. It was like a couple. It was like 5 years ago,
There we go. But good answer.
something like that. 4 or 5 years ago. Wow, has it already been 5 years?
Oh
Jesus.
God, Waffles
Brand,
is now
Why are
thinking.
you reminding me of these things? Don't let me
Waffles is
know
now
about
starting to
time. The
think about
less I
shit.
know about time, listen, I live in the present. The less I know about the past or the future or any other point in time besides the one right now, the better off we all are. Trust me. The
Well,
less I
screw
have to
that
think about.
mindset now because that's what's happening today. So for the next at least 2 hours, if not more, put that away and let's go deep into it.
Okay, I will just put the present waffle brain over here, and I'll just grab the past waffle brain and oh my god, get it out! Go! Oh god! Oh no! All right, we're just gonna take that water, put this back in here. There we go, perfect. But
Anyways,
no, anyways, yeah, I was mostly without a VR headset, and I did pretty okay, like interacting with all the people with headsets and hands and things like that. You just walk up to them and you kind of pretend like you're in VR. I would move my head around, and it was very. I specifically remember when I first went into like VR chat, I went and find an avatar that had very noticeable head movements, which is my emote of the seal, which is what I picked eventually, after a very long time of deliberating what would be the best avatar to have without VR. I picked the seal, which is that little seal emote you see down there. That was my VR chat avatar. To this day, I still have the seal, and it's like got a really big head. So every time you move your head, you can like see all the head movements, and they're very defined and very well. Like you can tell exactly where it's looking, and it's very exaggerated movements. So I was like, yes, this is. I will never have to buy a headset if I have this avatar. Lo and behold, I ended up buying a headset
you
anyways,
ended up
but
buying it. You have a headset now. Hey Schmoodle.
you
Uh,
always loved that cereal box.
God.
That
yeah.
is, he is just a cereal box become real.
Well, you've become a waffle that's become real. If that's the logic, then that's then that's what happened, right?
Shame on me. Your logo isn't the cereal box logo. I gotta fix that on my podcast.
God, no.
You gotta fix that on the screen. You actually have a pretty cool looking logo, and we can't have that.
I like Janoko's drawing. That's
Yeah.
Janoko drew that, and I really like it.
Yeah.
I guess that's a good transition into I guess my segment. That's a perfect transition because what you see right there,
So it's
that logo right
perfect.
there is my
Yeah.
OC. For those who do not know, that is my OC. So
Can I
my
make it bigger?
story begins about a little over 3 years ago. Getting into a VR chat community, I was getting into I started kind of in desktop, but I also got a VR headset, but I didn't have the time to use it at that point, so I did start in desktop. And during that time in desktop, I had to go looking for a character as well and something to um, go and use. And lo and behold, I found this in an avatar world. I was like, I really like it. It's like a little short lolly kind of thing. It's cute and it's a fox. And I was like, I like it. And so I picked that one, and that's kind of stuck as most of the things that I use for my OC persona, I guess, if you want to call it like that. Like obviously in VR chat now, I switch between a couple of different avatars. There's a few different avatars I use, but like that's always the one that I go back to for at least OC
Right.
stuff if
Right.
I ever wanted to have a reference.
That's your your default. Like where I've got a bunch of avatars now, but I always will go back to the Seal Boy because he's my OG. Even in VR, even though the right hand doesn't really work on the seal, only the left hand kind of does. So I'll just go into it just for nostalgic purposes. I just feel like at one when I'm with my original avatar, who like
Yeah,
everybody knows you as, who you introduced yourself to everybody as.
yeah. I'll always go back to it once I kind of feel like it's a good time or something like that, or if it's like an OG throwback kind of situation, I'll go use it. But like
Yeah.
right now, there's certain other avatars that I use, and I don't go into VR chat that often anymore, to be honest. So it's a little bit
I've been
like
trying to
a
get back into it. I got on VR chat the other day and I had a fun time just getting nostalgic with a lot of people that I don't normally ever see anymore. And yeah, I think I'm gonna try and get back into VR chat a little more and just hang out in the VR universe and
so
get to
yeah.
do
So
cool stuff again.
jumping ahead of ourselves there. That's a little bit of a jumping ahead of ourselves. Let's probably throw it back a little bit. Your experience. Let's throw it back to your experiences in VR chat.
Yes.
You're kind of getting into VR chat and starting out. What were
Oh
they like?
yes.
For you? What were they like to start in this kind of growing industry, this new kind of phenomenon that is just like that is VR chat? Because
The
you got
new
into it before.
phenomenon of VR chat. It was
Well,
too.
you got it in before the Knuckles stuff came, right?
Yeah, I
The
think,
whole
or at
wave
least
of
around the time.
memes
Honestly,
kind of
my
thing.
timelines are all messed up. Like it's just all a blur of memes. When you go back far enough, you're just like, what is the timeline for
Yeah,
VR chat?
you got around that time or just before it, to my knowledge of what I remember.
Around that time, yes,
So
I'm pretty
somewhere
sure.
around that,
Yeah,
like because after that's when
about
everything
that
blew up.
general area.
That's
Yeah, I was there
well,
when things exploded and like everybody started to get into VR chat.
yeah.
Yes.
So what were your experiences
Yeah,
like getting into
Schmoodle.
this? Experiences getting into VR chat, something that's not commonly seen. That
Sorry, Schmoodle. Schmoodle. Hold on. He says, I remember meeting Bran for the first time and being like, who the fuck is this psycho sniping so many
yeah,
subs?
yeah. I
Yeah.
remember all of that.
Back in the
Uh,
day. Um, you feel that it sucks being so busy lately. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. It is. It's definitely hampered my ability to get online. Um, but yeah. Sorry. We were talking about the past when
what
everything blew up with
Yeah, so
Knuckles and stuff like that.
your experiences in HR getting into this new game, this
Oh
new kind of
gosh.
industry that hasn't really taken off yet because no one really knows about it. What was it
I
like going into this kind of social atmosphere that is
Very
VR chat?
confusing at first. I didn't really bother talking with people because it was very strange. I didn't have a mic set up. I actually when I first started VR chat, no mic, didn't have one. I was in a transition between mics, so didn't have a mic, and I went in there just using only expressions to express myself in this
In
virtual
desktop as
world
well.
in desktop. And yeah, no, I wasn't like a lot of people in VR chat are mute, where they don't talk and they'll just kind of do expressions and move their arms around and stuff like that. I was like that, but also did not have arms, so I would just move my head around. And I actually managed to get really far in social groups just moving my head around, and it was amazing. It was pretty fun when I first started. Actually, without a mic, I managed to on the first couple days. I ran into a friend group, what was going to be my future friend group. I ran into a guy just playing guitar, and they were just super chill and hanging out and having a fun time while he was playing guitar. And I just hung out there, and they're like, "Whoever the Seal Boy is, he's pretty cool. Hey, come on, we're gonna go to a different place." And then we went into like some portals, and we decided to hang out, and they were having all these like philosophical discussions, and they would ask me questions and stuff like that. And it's the easiest conversation I ever had because I do this
Yeah.
or this. And those were like my entire interactions with them. But some people just want people to listen. So yeah, I managed to make a whole bunch of friends just doing that. And then I get on Discord. We eventually friended each other on Discord, and I could talk through typing and stuff like that. But yeah, that's like, you don't even need to really talk to people to make friends. Honestly, you know you just kind of go there and be interested in them, and bada bing bada boom, you make some friends. And that was kind of my introduction into VR chat, and from
Would you
there
would you
a
say
lot
it
of
was
things
kind of like
happened.
a surreal experience having this kind of being able to talk to people online in a like
In a
what looked
virtual
like a more physical atmosphere rather than just over like a Discord conversation? Because obviously people always had texting and stuff, and you could always get into the online chat rooms if you wanted to in games or anything. So the idea of long form communication has always been there, but now you have more of a physical look to you rather than just,
yeah.
hey, look, that person's playing that character in this game that I'm in, or oh yeah, we're on a Discord call together.
I mean, I had a lot of experience with um, online video games and stuff like that beforehand. Like I had played a lot of online games, Halo, and I used to play this game called Lost Planet, I think it was called. And I would always like run around in avatars, and talking to people, and meeting people online wasn't a new concept to me. I actually talked way more when I had an Xbox 360 headset, and I'd just be like, "Hey, I can frog that guy over there. I've got a bazooka. Oh, why'd you kill me?" And it wasn't too strange of a transition for me personally, because I was just so used to that stuff at the time that it was kind of just a go online in a video game. But also people are way more chill, and don't have an objective, or you don't have a goal you're trying to achieve. You just kind of want to go and talk with people and things like that, which I had experienced a little bit in some like Xbox Live chats and stuff like that, where people just hanging out, and we sometimes I'd go into like a Halo game, and everybody would just hanging out, chilling, talking, and there wouldn't even be any like murder, no murder happening in a video game for once, which was strange. But yeah, no, it wasn't that very difficult of a transition for me.
So what made you
Um,
come back to it constantly then? I guess is that the big reason is because it was chill, or what
yeah,
was your
I
reason for
mean,
continuously coming back? Because to some people, you look at this kind of thing and it's got nothing to offer. So why would you keep coming back? So to squish that kind of
me
theory, what
personally,
was you for
me
you?
me personally, for me, VR chat is a great medium of expression for artists, for people of more of a creative kind of mindset and venture. It really, people who just want to, there's a lot of people on VR chat who like played music and things like that because it was a medium where you could just kind of, you don't have to go out and busker on the streets of New York or something like that to have people hear your music. You could just get onto VR chat, hook up your guitar into, the output of the computer and play music like that, and people would hear you. So I'd always go to the like stage events and things like that of people playing music. And my original friend group, the one I got into right at the beginning, they were all musically inclined and things like that. And not even that, just like even things like model building, like you can build avatars and make all sorts of creative. I know all sorts of very creative avatar makers in VR chat who make these crazy out there. And I'm not just talking about like big buff knuckles or something like that. Although that is a whole beauty in and of itself. Like that is a whole special realm. The weirdness of some of the VR chat. I may be looking at you, Schmoodle, which I love that whole aspect of people just getting to absolutely let their creativity run loose. Some creativity should probably be at least watched upon with very skeptical eyes, but for the most part, aside from just all the people who make like dummy thick avatars and stuff like that. Some of the creativity I would see out of like avatar makers and just people who wanted to do cool stuff. I would meet all of them, and I like to encourage creativity because I'll be 100% honest. I'm not that much of a creative person myself.
So, kind of, obviously, I do want to get back to. I probably should jump back to myself at some point, but I do want to.
I should jump back to myself.
Well, I mean, like talking about my experiences at some point.
Yeah,
I probably shouldn't let you
no.
rumble off, but
No.
I do want to keep pushing this a little bit. So obviously, going off the creative thing, you saying you encouraged it and everything, you obviously went beyond that and did something of your own.
Yeah.
To create a community of yourself.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that and how you created a community out of this brand new kind of concept?
Well, yeah. So that friend group I originally met, and this was like the third day in VR chat that I met this group. Turns out that they were pretty damn good at music, and they were all aspiring musicians, and they all just wanted to hang out and play music and things like that and have people hear them. And it was weird. It was such a weird coincidence that I had run into these people my first couple days in VR chat, and I did everything that I could to be like, yeah, your music is awesome. You should throw it out there for everybody to hear, which inspired a few of them to start streaming. I remember there was we made originally the community was called the Bread Box, was based off of one of our members, Bread, which was a really good guitar player, and I remember him. Oh, he was a very like, he just kind of wanted to throw. He was an extremely talented guitar player, and just kind of threw himself out there and wanted to make music. And he was like, "Yeah, I'll do a thing. I'll start streaming and stuff like that because I just want more people to hear my music." Well, then he started blowing up a little bit, and blowing up can mean one of two things. Blowing up can mean great success for you, or it can mean that you were dealt with a lot more responsibility than you would initially tried to go for. And he was one of those people. He's like, I just want to play music and have people hear me and stuff like that. I don't want to become like an internet personality. So that didn't really work out on that end. He was like, listen, we can't keep this community going. I can't. I just want to play music.
Mm-hmm.
So then I me and this other person named Stargazing decided to, because we were so, both of us were kind of the same inclination. We don't have any kind of real talent of our own. So we both liked to encourage people with talent to try and go on and move forward and, really promote them to everybody. Um, and so we started the Star Collective, which was, it went through a bunch of different names, but it eventually ultimately landed on the Star Collective, which was just a talent show in VR chat, essentially, where everybody could just go up and express themselves and play music and hang out on stage. And here's an audience for you. We will put you guys in front of, and not just music. It was music. It was whatever talent you had. If you wanted to go up and tell jokes, if you wanted to tell a story, if you had some writing or something like that, we just tell people to get up on stage, and it became kind of a thing, and it blew up quite a bit. Um, and again, we ran into the trouble of things blowing up, becoming a little too big for their britches, and it kind of grew out of our control, and ended up going to a place where um, it became less about the music and more about people wanting to make money off of the large group of people. And it became more of a self-interest thing instead of just a play music and have fun kind of thing. As it grew bigger, and you need, because as things like that grow bigger, you need more and more people to come in, to be staff, to make sure that things go smoothly. And then those people started having aspirations of their own, and they wanted to make sure that it was doing something in their interest. And then there was talk about, like, oh, let's see if we can sell T-shirts and finances and stuff like that. And it just became like, everybody was judging everybody up on stage. That's where I met Johnny and stuff like that. And eventually Johnny transitioned on because he was a part of that, and moved on from there to other things. But yeah, essentially, it's crazy how, like, I just got into VR and suddenly this whole thing happened, and I was a part of a talent group that was being a part of a huge talent thing in VR, which was a very new concept. So we were kind of at the forefront of that, which was an interesting time. But yeah, it leads, things lead to things, and it's very, the webs we weave go to strange places, especially in VR.
Yeah, but the point I really do want to push to is the ability that what you guys did was basically encourage a lot of people to get into into an area that either they were not familiar with, or things that they
Yeah.
didn't think they could do in the past. And that's a crazy concept for a lot of people, that you from another country, possibly in a lot of cases,
In most cases,
encourage
yeah.
encourage someone else to jump into this, and how you, one, gave them a platform to start, and then two, gave them the ability to go the distance they chose. Obviously there's some people that went further with it than others, but you
Yeah.
you uh but you gave them a good starting place, which is like, again, one of the great concepts of having these kind of VR specialties, or these online communities that specialize in this. You gave them ability to start and then take it where they felt like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was my entire goal when I started that whole thing, was like, try and promote the creativity. Because when I first got into VR chat, that's immediately what I noticed. Besides all the memes, besides the Knuckles running around going, "This is Dewey, hello my queen."
I love the
I noticed that
queen, my
there's a
bananas.
huge because everybody, even the people who were running around as Knuckles, right? Even the people who were memeing on everyone, were so creative as hell. Like, these people were coming up with ideas, making the funnies. They were they were just, they were out there. There were people that, you can't just do this kind of shit. You can't just walk around town going, "This is the way, I'm my knuckles." It's not a thing you can do in real life, and you
Mental
don't feel
institution.
you don't feel judged as much when you're in VR because you're behind the headset. You don't have to worry about your facial expressions and things like that. And it's a little easier for a
Which
lot
can
of
be a
people.
benefit or a consequence.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously, yes, the benefit of completely unlimited creativity, a benefit plus a consequence, because let's be real, the unfiltered imagination of the internet is a scary thing to behold. It's terrifying. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. Hey, dog lovers.
Yeah, hi
I got
dog lovers.
I got a green screen behind me, so I'm
Yeah,
kind of floating.
Brand's a floaty boy, which is really cool, and I I'm jealous. I want my floaty screen. I can't fit it in my room, but I want it anyways.
Yeah, so I
They
do.
did schmoodle, yes. Yeah, I hope you're doing good, dog lovers.
Yeah.
We're talking about VR
Um,
chat and VR and the metaverse and stuff like that.
yeah. So I guess I shall roll back the time clock a bit,
Yeah, what about
and
you?
I will.
I want to know about Brand.
I briefly spoke on some of my experiences. I haven't spoken about it in depth that much to a lot of people, so this will be my first time kind of going through everything and more in depth explaining. But to give some background, like I said, about 3 years ago, a little bit more than 3 years ago, I got more involved in the VRChat community. I had an Oculus, the original Oculus Rift at the time, the OVC one or whatever they called it at that
The
point.
OG Oculus Rift.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
OG Oculus at the time. So I was prior to that. I watched a lot of role play videos of in VR chat. So you had people like
Like the big streamers.
yeah, you had the big streamers like
Yeah.
obviously Nags was one of the big streamers who did a lot of role plays, and that's who I kind of drifted to a lot more. And like the great story about me finding the community I would have ended up with is that Johnny obviously sung for Nags on on one of his streams when he did the voice,
Yeah.
and ends up Johnny's a really great singer. Who would have guessed?
Yeah, no, it
no
turns
one at that
out.
time, but now we look at that and kind of laugh. But he sung on there. He was a quite small streamer at that time. And then we ended up rating him. I kind of followed him. Stuck around Johnny. He was a lot easier to communicate because Nags was obviously a really big community. Johnny was something quite small. And again, going a little bit off topic, smaller, big streamer. Great content, a little bit to watch, hard to communicate to. Smaller streamer,
Yeah.
really easy to communicate with and get involved with their community. Two ends of the
Exactly.
spectrum, but you get more enjoyment out of the one than the other in some cases. That's why
Fair
I
enough,
really
yeah,
don't.
true enough.
I don't really get involved with large communities anymore unless I'm already deep in deep shit.
Definitely
with it,
not
which,
involved with Johnny's
which
community at all. Definitely not.
no, I'm not. But that's why I'm saying, saying unless I get into
Unless
deep shit with it.
I'm in too deep, we can't get
Yeah,
out.
which is what I've gotten myself into. But for the majority of it, if I'm going to communicate with people, it's going to be with smaller streamers because you look at bigger streamers and they provided a lot of really good content. There's so many people that I watch that really good content. They're really big streamers, and that's the reason they're there. But you don't ever go there to communicate with people. You don't. You like you can find communities and find people within those communities,
Yeah.
but you don't go there
Chat
to
is just
communicate
all
with the streamer.
spam. It's
Yeah.
just all 5-head spam or whatever.
So,
for
anyways, going back to it, I got involved with Johnny's community. I ended up spending a lot more time with it. I got into VR chat with it, and I started out, unsurprisingly, mute. Who would have ever
Hey,
guessed
fellow mute
that?
starter.
Not because I didn't have a mic, because the Oculus had a mic on it. I had mics at home.
You just didn't.
I
It's
just
very.
didn't want to talk. I
I don't want to. No,
refused to talk.
I mean, I understand. I get you. Getting into that kind of
So-
space initially is difficult.
Again, for anyone who hasn't guessed, I'm very introverted. Like I'm extreme end of introverted. Like, well, not extreme end. They're obviously considering I'm doing this, but there is a really hard side to me that's introverted that I will not talk to a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, there's a.
introduced it. And even when I'm nowadays, even when I go into VR chat world, I'm still very quiet in new worlds around new people that I don't know. So for me, going into this thing, absolutely no clue, knowing nobody, other than Johnny and maybe talking to some of these people in chat, but never communicating with them. I was just like,
Right.
what am I gonna do? And there's a stay quiet. People do mute all the time. Stay quiet. Don't talk. And I had the luxury of having VR as well. So whenever I was at home and I could get into my VR, I had the ability to communicate with hands. The avatar that I already pointed out had a marker on its finger, so I could draw and write things out if I felt like writing something out that's more specific. Discord was always an option as well, but I didn't know anyone really that much, so Discord wasn't an option. So again, writing out things was really simple.
Yeah, you write things out. So you had one of those avatars that can like
yeah.
write
So that
things
avatar,
with the
I guess it's over
hovering words.
here. Is I can't tell what it is on your stream. Oh no, it's on this side.
You're
Never mind.
reversed for me.
It's this side. So that avatar right there, it has a marker on its finger. So when I point, it draws a colorful line. So I could write things in the midair, and then it would stay until I made it disappear. To an extent. So I could write things when it wasn't too laggy in a world, and people could read it.
Sometimes people could read it most of the time, unless things got wonky donkey, and then it's just like and it gets a little confused. I've seen like mute players; they'll start writing something, and then like the world will lag for a second, and their word will just go.
For some reason, like on the older versions of VR chat, like when I started.
Funny.
You could notice writing a lot better, and then there was a timeline where writing was really awful.
It just became hard all of a sudden, yeah.
Yeah, and then more nowadays it's gotten a lot better as well. It's kind of gotten a lot better, but it went from a transition. It was okay to it got really bad to it's back to okay now.
Ruku, you woke up at midnight. Ruku. You beautiful boy, you. I love you and your messed up sleep schedule. Yeah, it makes me feel better about my crazy schedule.
Yeah. Oh god, crazy schedules. But yeah, I would get involved with that. I kind of hung around this community for a long time, obviously.
Yeah.
But for me,
so you originally Nags's community was what you were originally.
Nags's community was something that I was highly interested in and highly loved. I loved his content, and I still do. Like, there's a lot of content that he still does that I will tune in for. But his was the original content that I got into, and then it kind of leaked over into Johnny's community, and that's kind of where I've ended up today, doing a lot more things, trying to help him grow his community, Johnny's community.
Just a itty bitty part of Johnny's community, just a tiny, the entire community manager, definitely just a small part.
I was gonna say, for those who do not know. And for reference, obviously we've talked about Johnny a lot, but he's a giant VR chat streamer, VTuber, not giant, but like he's decently big.
He's a big guy. He's huge. He's like big. 7 feet tall.
And I'm his admin, his community manager, and his actual manager, plainly. So I do a lot of work on the back end of things. A shit ton of work.
A shit ton of work. Help me. Help.
Yeah, exactly. So my job is less looking after community or looking at a single community and more a broad spectrum of that. And that's kind of where I'm at, and it's taking me today. Again, I'm jumping a little bit ahead of myself here. But that's kind of...
yeah, but I mean, you enjoy being a part of that, and you wouldn't be doing it.
Here's the great thing about VR chat, I say, and Metaverse in general. Just the idea of it is it gives you new lines of contact to people that you really haven't had before, and it's one of those things where a lot of people say nowadays a lot of people are like, oh yeah, texting is fine. Who can't hate texting? And I'm not one of those people. I'm one of those people that go, if you want to talk to me and have a really good in-depth conversation, give me a call of some
talk
kind.
To me in person. I'm kind of like
not even just in person. Give me a phone call. I just want to.
Yeah, I mean not like face to face, but yeah.
So
I'm way better at talking like with my voice as opposed to because I can't express myself like I can when I'm doing text and stuff like that. Things come off weird.
If you've ever texted me, you'll know that my texts are very plain. Like, I don't put a lot of expression in my text, and I've tried to change that a bit, and I've gotten a little bit better at that. But
it's hard,
whenever you text me or DM on Discord, a lot of my texts come back very plain and very unexpressive. So like
Yeah.
you could be like saying, "Oh yeah, I did this," and I'd be like,
It's
"Congrats,"
right. It's
and
hard
it's
to
just
tell
like,
because it's
and
just like,
it doesn't
okay,
really sound great.
yes, sure. I mean, which is completely because a lot of like my speech is laced with like sarcasm
Yeah.
and things like that, which doesn't you can't exactly detect sarcasm as well when you message somebody.
Or you
It's
just
like
type bracket
right.
sarcasm, and it doesn't have the same effect though.
Like where if I go like, yeah, like a total loser like you, wink wink, but if I type that in text or something like that, it would come off as very rude and insincere and very like, whoa, bro, don't, what the hell.
What are you saying?
So it's hard for me too, yeah. So I
Okay.
understand that.
Yeah, so VR chat gives you this really different atmosphere of being able to do that kind of communication uh, through voice and now through gestures as well. And that's something that's really, really
That's
cool to
true,
see.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Plus you've got your hands and stuff like that. It's essentially just like an upgrade from, you've got from going from text to voice to voice plus also gestures, which is just the next level of communication online. In terms of it just adds a whole nother layer what you can communicate to other people online, having hands and having the ability to even on certain avatars you can change your facial expressions and things like that, which changes up the whole communication game in general, even if it is
There's
just
facial
a.
tracking, there's finger tracking
Mm-hmm.
nowadays. So I guess that kind of leads us into current day stuff. Um, there's a lot of different technologies out there. VR used to be a very exclusive club to an extent because one, you either had to know about it and be in desktop to function with it,
Right.
or you had to actually have VR, and VR is not cheap.
Yeah, it's
Let's get the
not
one
for
thing
not everybody gonna have
like
VR.
nowadays. It's a lot better. It's still not cheap. It's a lot better, but it like you go back a couple years ago, and this is a very exclusive club
Yeah, it was a
almost.
very like you have VR or you're hanging out in desktop, and it's not easy. Let me tell you, as someone who did desktop for a very long time, it's not easy hanging out with those cool VR people with a very limited amount of expressions and ways to communicate compared to these VR people in VR chat with
So
just desktop.
yeah, so nowadays it's a lot better. You have the Quest 2, or
Yeah.
Meta Quest as we are now calling it. Um, yep. So again, we'll going to current day. Facebook has obviously bought Oculus a little while ago. They are developing their own area, which they've rebranded everything to be Meta, and
Mm-hmm.
their Metaverse that uh, God, I am so bad at name. Mark Zuckerberg
Mark
has
Mark
is
Zucky. I just call him Zucky.
yeah,
That's
okay,
what I
Zucky.
call. I call him Zucky.
That works for me. Zucky
Crazy
has
Zuck.
it. Crazy Zuck is creating his own platform and stuff, and they've shown off a little bit of clips of what it's supposed to be like. They've had some demos or something, I think, of
To Zuck.
what it is. To Zuck.
To Zuck.
Hey Mars,
He
how's it
is
going,
to
Mars?
Zuck.
Yeah, but obviously Tzuck has created this own thing. They have demos out and stuff that they've shown metaverse around. VR chat has grown. It has a lot of different communities. They're updating a lot of good things. There's a lot of new things that are coming out, and in general, the industry is really growing to
Yeah,
current day.
in
It
terms
is
of
actually becoming a lot more consumer friendly than it has been in the past couple of years.
the people who would otherwise not be privy to all this stuff are they know about it. Like I talk about if I say metaverse to my family, they know what it is. They're like, "Oh yeah, the new Facebook thing or that
Yeah,
new the VR stuff."
it's
Whereas
coming a
opposed to
lot more.
before where if I talked about VR chat, they'd be like, "What?
What? Yeah.
What are you
So
talking about?"
So, with that being said, obviously it's becoming a lot more mainstream,
Hmm.
and with a lot more mainstream become more mainstream means a lot more media is attacking you. And here is where I'm gonna go from uh, standard questioning you and everything, where I'm still gonna do that, to a lot more ranty. This is where I'm gonna turn a lot more ranty of what I've had.
Yes,
So,
the unfiltered,
so
uncensored brand at its full maximum.
yeah.
Go
So
off.
for those who have not known, there because of all this attention, this and all this different or more easier outlets for people to get into VR, we have had a lot of the media that start quote attacking metaverse and stuff. Again, they're not really attacking; they're more reporting on stuff. Some of their information is true, some of their information is false, and a lot of it is kind of mixed in that middle where they're not really getting accurate data, or they're not providing or not doing their own research enough that it makes sense to someone who's involved in the industry. They're just putting stuff out there that they think makes sense, and to know
Whatever
who's
gets the
people,
clicks.
yeah, and to people who don't know what the industry's like, they go, "Oh my god," and like that makes sense. And then to anyone who's in the industry goes, "What the hell? This is like completely
Like, what do
weird and not right.
That's
Your
not
sources are really bad."
right.
Um,
Yep.
so I'm the first thing I want to talk about is this article that came up a little while ago, and this was like a few weeks ago. And it was talking about VR and how VR wasn't really ready for mainstream stuff or certain things. And one of the huge things that came out of that article is that people couldn't have legs in VR.
in Facebook's meta.
No, well, in Facebook's meta, there is no legs. Let's get that one
Yeah.
thing straight.
Let's
Is
let's
if you've
be,
seen anything,
let's start
if
off
you've
with
seen
that.
anything,
There ain't no
yeah,
legs.
if you've seen anything owning demos of Metaverse, the
It's
avatars do
just
not
the
have
upper
legs.
torso. That's
Yeah,
really disturbing. Like, at least make a facsimile of legs, because not having legs in general is
it is really
very
weird.
strange.
But because of this, this reporter says that the capabilities of having legs are not exist or don't really exist, or it's really hard to.
It's so hard to
And
have legs.
and and, and let's or like okay, I found it's the CNN report, and it's the title of the thing. It says why you can't have legs in virtual reality. Let's get one thing straight.
Exhibit A, TFM Johnny.
Well, I was gonna say Exhibit A. Any of the dancers that are in VR chat,
Or the hundreds of
or
dancers
me.
that are in VR chat. Or
I have
Bran, who has
I
legsies.
I have trackers right over there that
My legs.
connect to my VR setup, and then I can have legs with.
Couldn't possibly have no, legs are a myth. Legs are just a myth generated by the propaganda machine. There's no such
So
things as legs.
so you have this article that
Lullathon.
it says why you can't have
Putting
legs
already,
in virtual reality. Yet you have these thousands of people walking around
So many VTubers who have
with
straight up just
legs.
legs.
And so that title is really not great to start with. And
No
when you
legs.
read and when you read it from someone who doesn't know anything about the industry, you go, "Oh, okay, I guess this makes sense." But you go ask anyone within any of this industry, and you go, "What do you mean?"
Wait a minute. Yeah.
So the funny thing is, after all this backlash, or all this comes out, you have all these streamers or influencers that are part of VR chat and stuff going, "We have no legs," and making memes of that. They don't have legs. Oh my god! So you
Where's the
see
legs?
these, yeah, you see people like lose their legs, or you have like them ripping off their trackers and their legs go flying all over the place. Like,
See,
all
this
these
is what I'm talking about with creative potential in the VR space. It's
yeah, so you have all this stuff going on, and people like showing off and then some people are showing off legs and stuff, and being like, well, that person has
some
legs.
people are
That
only
person,
legs.
that person's dancing. That person's doing pole dancing, and you go like, what do you mean?
Why can't VR have legs?
So as you read through the article, you look at some of the stuff, and a lot of it is kind of interesting information. And one of the things that they start talking about is obviously they finally get to the point of legs, and tracking and stuff. So they say obviously Facebook's metaverse doesn't have legs, and we all know that. We all understand
Right.
that. Everyone goes, yeah, fair enough. It's stupid concept, but no, they don't. They're just floating
Zero
bodies.
legs. Yeah.
Whatever. That's metaverse. then they start driving in the fact that yes, people in VR chat have legs, and right there you just faked your own article headline. Is that you just admitted people do have legs. People physically do have legs. You in that in one statement there is you just said yes, there is VR chat where people have full body.
Yeah, people
Right there,
have,
you just literally
they just talked about
that
VR
headline
chat
goes
having
out the
full
door.
legs, yeah, and just
Which, like, again, it's when you look from a media standpoint, fine, it makes sense. You're trying to drive traffic to your headline, and the first thing people are gonna look at your headline. So when you look at it from that standpoint, yeah, fine, fair enough. No one's gonna
yeah,
argue.
like I
with
said,
your thing.
whatever gets the most clicks. If
But
your headline is why don't people have legs?
But when you go into an article like that and you say that this person you can't have why you can't have legs, and then go talk that people have legs, you kind of just threw your credit out the door. In my mindset, at least, you just backtracked and just threw your credit out the door. If you still have any by that point. So they go into this and say, yeah, people have legs, they do all this different things, but the tracking's really the or whatever, the tracking's really bad on it, or
The tracking's so bad on those legs,
or the quality isn't
seen
there,
some of those pole dancers in VR chat.
yeah, like, but it just goes on and talks about this all this stuff, and then they say pricing and stuff, and when you look at the pricing of trackers and stuff, you can go, yes, fair enough, these things are expensive and not a lot of people can afford them, which is fair. Can you still have them and have legs? Yes. Is it an industry standard? No, because it is pricey. It is for the people that can afford it. No one's arguing that. No one's arguing that it is difficult to have legs because of pricing and how it's outpriced the typical consumer, unless you're fully involved in it.
Yeah.
Which, again, I've gotten into, and that's the reason I have trackers.
You know, and I will admit, like, legs are the, you know, when it comes to VR and stuff like that, legs are the last thing you think about, because for the most, you know, you are still just going to be sitting in one spot, kind of sitting there in a chair or standing there, you know, however you prefer your VR experience to go. Whereas arms, you can,
yeah,
you know,
unless
do
unless you have a big room as
stuff.
well. Like, again, I can't really show it because I got the green screen up, but I have a quite decently sized room to move around in, so full body is perfectly fine for me.
Me too, kind of ish. Slightly. My bed is definitely not directly to the left of me and 100% ready to be tripped over at a moment's notice.
Yeah, so but let's get it straight that yes, outpricing the industry is, or the price in the industry is very difficult to comprehend.
Zuck says no legs.
Very difficult for people to
Zuck
get
says
involved
no legs.
But the one big thing is that it just talks about like how tracking isn't there, how the technology isn't there to do this, and
so
that was
the point of the article, was that that the technology wasn't far enough in order to have legs.
There's
in
a
VR,
bunch of things on
as
there,
opposed to just like the cost expenditure of having legs in VR.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things in the article, and reading through it it's very
painful,
weird and painful if you're in the industry, if you
know anything about VR, yeah.
But again, one of the things for me is that when they point out the technology, and for me, I look at this and go, what do you mean the technology is not there? We have the technology that works. Is it fluky? Is it perfect? No.
We have the technology.
But is the consumer ability there? Yeah. And then I go, well, if you're telling me the technology is not there, go look at mocap stuff. Look at movie industries. Go look at video games that use mocap.
Exactly.
They basically use a higher end version, a professional version,
several $1,000s, yeah.
Yeah, $1 million, whatever it could be, of what our consumer cheaper base is that we use in VR.
Yeah,
the technology exists. Is it expensive? Yes, but the technology is there because mocap uses basically the same thing. They use a lot of cameras and a lot of sensors to detect and use little dots on you to detect where you are and your movements you use. They even go to facial recognition as well.
Chat with a full mocap suit. Let's go.
People think that's possible, but regardless, that's going beyond. That's going for future stuff again. But beyond that, the technology is there. and we have sensors. They're the purpose of having something like an HTC Vive or a Valve Index or something similar is that you have these trackers in your corners, these sensors, these that track your headset, can track your controllers, and then track anything else by using
Track your
lasers
booty,
and
track
cameras.
your legs, track
Yeah,
your, you know,
but
wherever the
they
trackers
basically
are.
have cameras and sensors that point down to you so that it sees you and registers it back and shows it where you are. The
Yep.
technology is very similar. Is it a dumbed down, not perfect version? Yes, but no one's arguing that. Is it there though? Does it exist? Is it possible to have it? Yeah. That's like the point. Your point goes out the door because if you stick to the argument, is it hard to get into with legs? Yes. Is it a perfect system? No. No one will argue with that. No one thinks it's a
I
perfect
also
system.
I feel like
Nobody thinks it.
a lot of these articles and things that deal with the metaverse are directed towards people who have no idea what VR is or like how it functions and things like that. Because most people's experience with VR
But
and metaverse and stuff like that, right, is the Facebook one, the one that's like newly coming out that Mark Zuckerberg is kind of plastering everywhere. Even though nobody has anybody, let's there's like two groups of people. There's people who have VR and who have already invested a lot of money into VR, and that group already knows all the VR platforms, right? And then there's another group, right, who have not invested anything into it and don't know what it is. And you know, that's the other group that Mark Zuckerberg is trying to appeal to, who don't really have VRs and things like that. But if you don't have the thing, if you don't have the VR, you're not going to get into metaverse. So people really don't know a whole lot about it in this
yeah,
other group.
but when you're talking about tracking and stuff, everyone understands mocap, or more. The majority of people, if you say mocap, or well, maybe not mocap, but like movie
Motion
capture stuff.
capture, right,
Yeah,
right.
motion capture to
They've been
people.
doing that since like
Most
Toy
people,
Story.
yeah, most people are gonna be like, oh yeah, I know what that is. So if you tell people, if you explain to people, yeah, it's motion capture, but on a consumer level, most people are gonna get it. That it's not like you're trying to explain like rocket science.
Right.
You're just dumbing it down and saying, here's an example that a lot of people know.
Well,
Here's
and
what
I
it
think a
is.
lot of people just want answers to like, why doesn't anybody in the metaverse have legs? Where's their legs at? And then you come out with an article that says, why don't people have legs in meta? Well, it's blah 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 blah. And you know,
Yeah.
people are gonna latch on. They're gonna get clicks because they want to know why you can't have
It's
legs
just
in
such an
your.
annoying concept, is it not? Like for people that you look at media and it's such an annoying concept to look at it because it's just like you read
It
these articles and you just go, what are you talking about?
it is if you're if you're into the know-how and but I understand the fact that a lot of these people just don't understand how VR works and how the industry has actually. Yeah, a lot of people, you know,
I
aside from
that's for a
watching
lot of
memes
new
on
things.
YouTube, a lot of people don't understand how far VR has come
No.
in
And that's
general.
for a lot of new things as well. As any new industry, a lot of people are just not going to have the clue about it, and people that are enthusiasts about it are going to be struggling with the mainstream media once it gets there. Um,
That's true. Yeah, and I think a lot of this is a lot of Facebook pushing their metaverse media and meta and all that stuff
let's
onto the
let's not get this
mainstream.
wrong though. Facebook pushing stuff and having like quests and more affordable things, and hopefully forcing competitors to come up with cheaper options is not a bad thing. Getting more people involved with the industry is not a bad thing. It is just the fact that when mainstream media or certain media portrays it as a bad thing or portrays it in an awkward lighting, it is really hard to start convincing people to start doing this, even though a company is doing really good at what they're at promoting something.
Ruku says, "What irks me is that people can do their own research. Yeah, no one really does." And that's the big thing because nobody really wants to, right? Nobody wants to do their own
People are lazy.
research. It's
Let's be
yeah,
honest.
it's a new thing. Like if it's a new fad about VR, people just kind of want whatever media source they can immediately go to,
They want
and people
answers,
tell them the
incredible answers
answers,
too.
and
And
that's
when you
it.
say I have a top news agency doing it, what
Because
can you just
let's face it, we're dealing. You know, when you talk about this stuff, you're dealing with people who don't have any experience in this area. They didn't grow up playing VR. They didn't grow up playing the online, in the space that the VR has essentially transformed into over this entire time that it has existed. And if you're trying to introduce a new type of media to people, a new entirely new medium in which to communicate, it's going to be slow going. It's going to be an entire transition. Like even the going back a bajillion years, because
Boomer.
time has gone crazy now, where just everything advances so quickly. But even like 100 years ago, people were just like,
Yeah.
nothing's ever going to be radio. Radio's the best thing that has ever existed. Nothing is going to ever top radio. And then TV came out and people are like, what the fuck is radio? And you just transition through these different media sources. And then there was like the internet, which started off, oh boy, the start of the internet was very rocky. And it takes a little bit of time and transition for these new types of communication and media. And like, I am 100% convinced that VR is an entirely new type of media, because it is a space that we haven't been able to fully explore yet. It is, you have, faculty over your head, your hands, something people can relate to in normal everyday life. Like with a video game, right? It's a little different with a video game, because you have a controller and you have to learn how to use the controller and move somebody around with joysticks, and you got to press a button to shoot something. With VR, I know how to use my hands. I know how to turn my head around and things like that. So it's much more of an appeal to a normal, to someone who doesn't have experience in the technological aspect of like computers and video games and things like that, where it's like, yeah, I can move hands. Me go into hands and, oh, look, they're doing the thing. So I think it has so much potential to appeal to more of a mainstream audience, than things even like video games, which are insanely popular, even by like, everybody knows about video games. There's so many gamers now compared to like when I grew up in the 90s, which was just like, you had a very video game is what they equated to nerd, and very few people, like, if you play video games extensively, you were like a nerd, and because people didn't understand it, people didn't know what video games were unless you were into the industry, so to speak. So I think we're kind of in that same transition where it's going to become something from something people barely know about to something that everybody knows about, and it's a part of like everyday life. As these headsets get cheaper and things like that, more people are going to understand it and get used to it and know what exactly it is. So I'm really curious to where the future of VR takes us.
Yeah. The interesting to see what the future is, but I still got more to rant about, because I said I'd rant about stuff and I was ranting there, and I know I do, but there's still more. Over.
Don't let me stop you ranting. No, go ahead, Brad. No, you've got this.
I got this.
Yes.
Okay. So
rant away.
So
because sometimes it needs ranting.
Sometimes there needs to be ranting, and this rant is gonna contain a lot of what we already talked about. How VR chat's been mixed in with Metaverse, and how
yes,
how things have been put in a bad light, and to an extent it's an okay thing, and to an extent it's a really bad thing.
Brant away.
Brant away.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Oh, we're gonna call it a brant. Oh, Ruku, you genius.
So there's so.
Did you watch that video before you continue? Did you watch that video that has like 14 million views that like I experienced the metaverse?
Probably not.
It's about a guy who goes into the metaverse, but it's just VR chat, and they never explain during the entire video that it's just VR chat and not Facebook's metaverse, which drove me. I was like, this is not metaverse. This is VR chat. This is not metaverse.
So mine kind of goes off of that as well. There's this BBC article that was posted and filmed, explaining somebody going into quote metaverse,
Mm-hmm.
which was VR chat.
Yep.
They said
Metaverse.
they said VR chat as well, but they claimed it was metaverse, just generalizing it, and then kind of saying it.
Yep.
And what it really was is that they put some girl into metaverse, and it was how I say public worlds, a lot of them,
Oh no.
and it was a
Oh.
lot of
Oh, that poor
interesting
girl. Oh
public
Jesus.
worlds kind of stuff.
This is the
And
way.
the
Hello. Also, like buff Pikachu everywhere.
well, the basic concept of the thing of what they were showing, and again, this is the fear of going to, and again, there is some reason to this, and some of it was just exaggerated. A lot of unwholesome stuff, let's say, was was basically presented in something in a way.
Do you know
um,
the way? Yeah, it's. I mean, that's why I said there's dummy thick avatars like everywhere. And you're just like,
Yeah, and there was reason to it. Again, a lot of people don't argue that there needs to be like something like VR chat needs to put some more restrictions up to calm down what people see and stuff. Like there are ways around it. Like if someone's going too close to you and you say back off, you can block them. There's options. Like we're not saying that there isn't options, and people aren't saying that the options are the best they could be. There are better options that they could
right.
be to cure these things.
Meta was actually having that problem where there was a highlight about a girl who talked about she was being groped in Meta. So they introduced like a thing where just like if you come within 4 feet of somebody, you can have a thing where you just deny access to that person, and you
And
can't.
and
And
like well, because let's be honest, VR chat does have solutions to temporary solutions, not perfect solutions. Again, they need to develop more
they
to
definitely
fix
do.
the
You're not
problem.
wrong. That
But
is that can be a
one,
very big issue.
you can block people. Two, you have personal boundaries. So if someone gets too close to you,
Right.
they disappear from your line. That's an option that is in VR chat. That is an option that I didn't even realize when I first got into it because it was on by default.
Oh right, yeah. Why does everybody disappear when they get close to me?
Yeah, it's an option that is on. Uh, and the other thing that was a big thing in this thing was that they're on Quest. They were purely running off Quest, and they were saying, "Oh my God, this person was taking off their clothes." On Quest, you can't see that. No one in the article explains that. No one actually says anything. But if you run off purely Quest, the memory and the capability of a Quest cannot handle that and will not show that.
Yeah, you could say that the limitations of quests are pretty good for people who don't.
Yeah, there are huge limitations with it. Like obviously, if you run a Quest off a PC,
Some
so if you
people.
run off a virtual thing or you
Right.
have it plugged in by the cable, you can do that. But the article was showing it just purely off Quest, and if it was a real article, you can't see that. That is actually not possible to see off a Quest. Which kind of I was watching this with Johnny at the time, so
Probably a
that
good
drove
thing.
Johnny insane. And then sorry, I'll let you were gonna say something and then I'll.
No. I was just saying. Yes, the boon of the the quest can be. You can't see everything with the quest on VR chat because a lot of it's more advanced, but also at the same time you can't see everything when you're on the quest, thank god. So
So
it can be a bit of a double-edged sword.
so then they go to an interview section with a quote or a VR researcher or metaverse researcher.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out that researcher is, let's say, was someone who, let's say, produced very unwholesome content already. So
Don't know. Unwholesome content on VR.
no,
What?
like really, like not just YouTube capable stuff,
Oh.
like beyond that.
Oh, okay, got you.
like this is the researcher that they're claiming is a VR researcher that has credit is and to talk about uh bad things that happen on like metaverse and stuff is someone who produces this content. Do you see the issue with it?
Yeah.
Do you see the issue with someone with basically going to a thing and saying, "Hey, look how bad this stuff is. Look how like how much there's not protection and stuff." Again, no one's arguing that there isn't enough. There still needs to be more. I want to push that point through. But you're basically arguing with this kind of thing by saying, "Hey, this researcher who produces this content, who encourages this content, is our interviewer, and we're interviewing them
So, yeah.
to tell us how bad it is."
I don't
What?
support this, but also check out my OnlyFans where I have stream exclusively VR
Yeah, exactly.
content. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like it's a backhanded kind of thing where it's just like, uh, where it's just like, hey, give us credit because this person is such a valuable doing their own research because they create this content. Like, obviously
I,
they didn't say that was the case,
I mean,
and
technically, that would be the person to ask about this type of content is someone who's deeply delved into it, someone who knows a
but like,
lot about it.
but
But
it's just such a weird thing that you go, hey, the person we're going to interview about all this bad stuff is the person who encourages people to do it. Like that's basically what you're saying is that we're going to talk to a person that encourages this kind of behavior.
yeah,
And that's a crazy concept to me is that like
it's a
obviously
fine
who knows
line.
what the news agency dealt with to get this person on. Like again, I'm not going to say the name because I do know who it is, and if someone knows who it is, whatever. But
Oh,
and
okay,
again, I was with Johnny, and Johnny knows very much about this person. But
right.
um just I so who knows if they manipulated or said who were they truthfully are, and if the actual news agency knew who they were truly. But for anyone who like looks at this again, involved in the industry, again, who cares if they're involved in the industry? Not the industry is just going to post something, but you're going to get a lot of backlash because you're just basically promoted someone who actually promotes this content.
Who
It's not
promotes
someone.
this kind of
It's not
stuff,
your
right?
average user who deals with this stuff. It's someone who specifically promotes that, not just deals with it, promotes it. Like there's a difference there. There's a huge difference. It's someone who actually tries to promote it. So they don't want to stop it. They want to keep going. And you're saying you're basically wanting someone to stop and say, "Hey, this is all bad, but look at this person who's promoting this
But
content."
also,
Like,
here's someone who is, oh yeah, it's super bad. By the way, check out my OnlyFans.
yeah,
It's very,
it's
yeah,
it's
it's
really backhanded. Like it's so hard to just honestly look at and be like, this is a reliable thing because you just basically one didn't provide context for a lot of the stuff. Again, who cares in the major things? They're just
and
looking for
that's a
clicks.
problem with the way the
But
media handles this kind of stuff is they just go to whoever, they don't they're not going to check their sources as well on these kinds of things. They're just going to go to whoever's big and popular and go to them about information regardless of where that information comes from or what kind of information they're spewing. um, and I feel like that's a big problem uh, with these two with a new kind of media that is VR chat because people don't a lot of these people writing these stories about it don't understand it at all. They don't know what they're talking about. And so they just go to whatever source. Oh, what? Let me just type in VR chat uh, sexual harassment, nudity, and they get whatever the first thing is pops up. Oh yes, that looks like a credible source. Click, and they go to that, and things just happen, and it's just as long as you get somebody you can talk to that's in the industry and will draw clicks based on your headline, that's what's
that's
gonna
good enough for them.
sell. Yeah, that's what's gonna get you them clicks and get you that ad revenue, which is unfortunate that there isn't a lot of good coverage. And I also think that in a certain sense, a lot of people, a lot of different media sources are going to have they're not rooting for VR. A lot of people criticize VR and the way it's going and things like that because of all of these things around the sexual nature of the unfiltered internet on blast, which, to be fair, is something we should be worried about.
Yeah.
And people are immediately looking to it like this is some unwholesome stuff, and that's what's going to draw the clicks is people looking for reasons to put down a new type of media, to put down VR, to say that it's something that is unwholesome, that it is something that is too far of a step into the next realm beyond. And people are going to be upset about it. People are don't support change that quickly, and so the news is gonna hop onto that and be like, this is a bad thing. Don't look at the all the bad stuff and harassment and things like that. Which, to be fair, can be a problem and should be looked at in depth. But at the same time, it's way easier for the media to talk about that stuff than it is to talk about the benefits and the potential of things like VR and the new media and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of a bias, I think, on that end, because a lot of people are looking for reasons for it not to exist, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think Nin put a great thing as in human nature, it's just not good. We just don't want change. And
Change is bad.
and this is a huge change to our culture and everything. Is VR, it changes the way we interact with some stuff, and a lot of people are scared of that.
Yeah, Nin put it good. Media tends to focus on negatives because that gets more views. And with the VR being a new thing that's really coming into light recently, the negatives are going to get way more views. But even despite the media's best efforts to put it down and things like that, I still think that it has so much potential as like a new media form that, despite their best efforts, it's gonna progress. It's gonna keep going forward. Facebook, whatever, Meta's like an experiment in bringing it to normal society, as far as I'm concerned. Like,
Meta is basically that easy transition to show it to people.
Exactly.
It's not the best platform. It doesn't give its full due, but it's a mainstream media that people are comfortable with using
right.
and trust to
Right.
get involved
First,
with it.
introduce it to everybody. Be like, listen, everybody's heard of this, right? They know it exists. It's there. And that's step numero uno, is to get everybody to realize that it exists, good or bad. And eventually, maybe the Meta thing will succeed with Facebook. I highly doubt it. It is very unless they change some stuff. I don't know where Meta is going to go, but something will supersede that. Something will be like, listen, we've revamped Meta. It's a new Meta. It's double Meta. It's super Meta, and it'll just go up from there.
Or VR chat just becomes a better platform.
Or VR chat just becomes a better platform.
They have the they already have the standard capability, so they could, if people get started with it and go, you know what, it's okay. Oh, now I've gotten involved with it. Let me go check out VR chat.
I think
you could have a second wave.
I think in order for VR chat to really become a part of more mainstream, where people recognize it, what really hinders it from people recognizing it at the moment is the stuff I was talking about earlier. The like, you go in and you get Knuckles and you get freaking big thick titty anime avatars.
It necessarily need to be mainstream. As long as it kind of feeds off Meta's kind of success.
But there's going to be there's definitely going to be something that's like kind of like an interim between VR chat and Meta that is more of a, because people don't, not everybody's going to adhere to big titty thick anime avatars, and Knuckles, which you just get in every public world
I mean,
VR chat.
technically, your medium could technically be just games. If there's more producers with that
Right.
that just produce VR content, not necessarily social content, just VR content in general, that could be your
Honestly, yeah.
medium for people to go, hey, I'm gonna buy a headset. Hey, let me check out this social game that I keep
Right.
hearing about.
Like my uncle, he he has during, the whole COVID and things like that, he was, out of things to do. He didn't, you're stuck inside. He kind of worked from home and things like that. He bought himself a PlayStation with the PlayStation VR and stuff like that. And now every single time I talk to him, he's like, "Bro, you want to hey, do you want to check out my place? I got the new like Batman game with VR. Do you want to check it out?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'll come check out your Batman VR." And every time I go over there, we'll go over to like for Thanksgiving or something like that, and he'd be like, "Hey, I've got Batman VR. Do you want to check it out?" And it's crazy that a family member of mine, and my family's kind of very old fashioned. They just get together for Thanksgiving. They all sit around a table and they go, yes, what do you think of that, of the Bengals going into the Super Bowl? And, it's a very traditional family kind of atmosphere. But then you have my uncle who has VR PlayStation, who's like, hey, after this, you guys want to check out my new Batman VR? And it's very interesting to me. That was a huge flag for me. It was like my traditional family is introducing me to new VR concepts that I had not been experienced with.
Yeah,
And he was totally into it. He's like, okay, we're gonna hook you up. Here's your thing. You got to stand right there. I've figured this all out. And he's like, he puts up the sensors and things like that. And he's like, I'm ready to rock. Let's go.
I feel like originally Beat Saber was that kind of interim where everyone was getting involved with it because everyone knew what Beat Saber was at the time and everyone wanted to play it, and that was
Yeah.
that kind of interim kind of, hey, here's a bonus kind of thing you can play, and a lot of people enjoyed it, and it's like, oh, here's VR chat, well, a free program to get you started in.
Yeah, I think that's
So just the concept of for well for VR to continue to succeed, one, things are gonna need to get cheaper. VR headsets and everything need to get
that's
cheaper.
step number
O-
one. Yeah.
Oculus needs to either needs to price down or find cheaper ways, or even better, have HTC or something of the kind start making a headset
Start
that
making
is
something
similar
consumer
to
friendly.
Oculus. Yeah, it's similar to a Quest,
You know what kind of
and
reminds
that
me of?
people can buy. And because of that, because of business nature and supply demand, it's going to become a competitive thing, and things are going to naturally get lower.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Right. It
regardless,
reminds me of the Wii. Now, the Wii was a totally new concept, and everybody and their grandparents, motion controls nobody had even bothered with, or you know, even managed to look at until that point. And then the Wii came out, and every family, grandparents, parents, everybody knew what Wii bowling was.
or how do
Like,
we, or some kind of thing like that.
yeah, or
Yeah.
had a Wii. Everybody knew. So kind of that was kind of an introduction in terms of VR and motion controls and things like that. Like, I can roll a bowling ball and it goes on the screen and it hits the pins, and all I needed to know was how to move my arms. And you know, if we could have like another Wii but also VR, I think that would hugely progress people's mindset towards VR, because that
Yeah.
was things like that are what really progresses people to make it something that they recognize, and that is something that is, mainstream. Um, Something like that is super important in pushing that kind of stuff forward. And as soon as you can get something to where, grandparents and your parents are playing it, well, that's pretty much, you've already set in stone that it's going to be something that is pretty cemented in the future.
I think the idea of VTubing becoming more mainstream in North America, and I specify North America or Western countries, I should specify, I guess, and more specifically, or more
VTubing,
broadly. I
and
mean,
you mean VTubing is in terms of becoming popular in the Western
yeah,
media?
in the Western kind of culture, that's been because in Asian culture,
It's already
more
been a
more
thing in Eastern culture.
yeah, in Eastern
They're
culture,
way on
in
top of that.
Japanese culture more specifically, it's been a thing for a while, and it has
Yeah,
grown over
Japan all
quite
over that shit.
significantly. But more in Western culture, this has become more of a big thing, and I think that's been a big boost in VR industries too, because VTubing kind of feeds off VR kind of concepts. It's turned less into an actual VR thing for VTubing, but the concept of VTubing is still kind of followed VR, or VR has kind of always trailed behind it. A lot of more people have
Yeah,
these different technologies now. Like you can just use a standard camera and have motion traction that just captures your pans and stuff.
right.
And
You've got the
or
Xbox, the
or
original
or,
Xbox
or
Connect or
just
whatever.
use your phone, and like things like this are always going to be
Do you have a
show.
Maple Leaf on your phone?
It's my
Bren.
team. It's my
Oh yeah, you got the
Toronto.
Toronto Maple Leafs on your phone. I was like, that is the most Canadian thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
For
It
again, I guess
still
we're
is,
trailing off here.
but I love that.
This is like what this is the door to the entrance of the locker rooms for them. So
Oh,
I got
oh,
the
you have
chance to go.
secret locker room access, bro. I
I
see how it is.
I got to go down there once, and I took a picture of the door and kind
Yeah,
of just because
just the door.
it's my
Right,
team.
of
I
course,
just
Bran. You only got a picture of the door of the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's okay. We won't talk about your secret folder about the the Toronto Maple Leafs in the locker room. Definitely not.
I have no idea where you're going this with. Anyways, um, obviously VR or VTubing has gone towards like just using your phone, and you can just do facial tracking and everything. So it's skewed away from VR and having or the actual VR, because when you think of VR, you think an AR, you think of headsets and stuff, and not necessarily just the avatar.
Yeah.
Um, but VR still follows it closely behind because it is essentially VR. It is a virtual reality of yourself. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
yeah, that's 100% true. I think that, um, yeah, especially once you start introducing VR to your phones and you can just slap your phone on your face. As soon as you can put a phone 2 inches from your face and have it that close at all times, people are gonna get into it a little bit more. That's
yeah,
just gonna progress
and
VR that
I
much
think
farther.
AR is slowly coming out as a thing as well, using it more phones. I think VR is more headsets, I think, and AR it likes to use phones more. I think that's how it goes, just because AR, because obviously, like
Honestly, I don't have a
virtual
lot of
again
experience
for
in
people
the phone
for people
version.
that don't know, VR is virtual reality. AR is augmented reality, which just kind of changes the look of your actual
It's Pokemon
look.
Go.
You're not thrown into a different world. You're in your same world. It's just slightly changed. Um, that's kind of the difference. But that's kind of why phones are or AR uses phones more, is because one, they can process it on your phone, and then two, you can have a camera that just shows what you are and
Right.
where you are, so you can augment it. Whereas VR, you kind of need that closed, kind of internal atmosphere.
Yeah, I think that the more just the more essential media that it's posted on, the farther it's going to come in general, regardless of how much the media tries to poop on it about a new thing that's coming up. And there's definitely a whole lot of unwholesome facets of VR increasing. It's so it's easy for the media to target to get some clicks to like, oh, this new VR thing that people are talking about. Let's talk about all the bad ways that it could go. But I still think the more you introduce it, the more people talk about it. In a way, just the more publicity that gets towards VR, the farther we're going to come with it. Regardless of the type of coverage, the more people are going to be familiar with it, which is really going to push towards more something, like I said, my thing would be like something a little more less anime and Knuckles than VR chat. Me personally, I love that stuff. I will be all over it. I don't care. I love VR chat for what it is. But I don't think that really appeals to the mainstream audience. Something that's like a little beyond that. But Meta
And I
from
think that's
Facebook is a little too far in the other direction. It's too.
it is, but I think maybe it needs to be dialed back. But I think that's where it leans to for the majority of people, is because if you're not involved in this, again, I'm gonna quote it, weeb culture, um, you're
Then you're
not
hanging
gonna.
out with Dazuk.
Yeah, exactly. You're not gonna
Dazuk.
be as appealed to VR chat because VR chat kind of appeals to that kind of culture of people that can these animated avatars, these waifus, and these memes, and the creativity. Whereas Metaverse leans towards, hey, you're a normal person. Look at this. You're kind of normal. You look normal. This is what's
Oh, look
supposed
at
to be
how normal you
normal.
look. You've got your me and everything. Remember Wii
Just
bowling?
don't worry about your lower half. That
Just listen. Legs are an impossible technology. We could not
you,
possibly have legs in this
we
game.
couldn't
That's
program legs.
absolutely insane. You will not have legs because the technology is far beyond any of us. Have you seen movie characters using mocap with legs? I don't think so. I didn't think so. No, no, it's only heads up. It's only waist up. I mean,
Yeah, so like I think that's the thing, is that there it does need to be some sort of medium, but I think it's really hard to find that medium just because it's the idea of either you understand the culture of VR chat and you can get into it, or if you're scared of it and you
or
lean
just
toward
no.
metaverse because metaverse seems more natural.
You imagine all the people who got their new Quest headset and were just like, let's see what's really popular for VR. Oh, look at VR chat. That seems to be a thing for
That seems
people.
to be good.
And they get in they go into the first public room and it's like, do you know the way? Oh, huge giant tittied anime avatars just boing boing boing. Hi, how's it going? I'm going to touch you. And people are like, nope. They just go to
But
like close VR chat
the
and
unfortunate
never come back.
the unfortunate part is I feel like that's a lot of people's experience if you jump into public worlds. If you don't have people that already play the
Yeah.
game or know people that play the game, unfortunately, that is your first experience because welcome to public worlds.
Exactly. Yeah, they just pop in. Oof Nuggets. We're talking about VR and VR chat and metaverse and kind of the future and how that stuff is progressing and things like that is kind of the topic of our conversation. And yes, there's so many people who have just joined and been like, nope, never to return again. In terms of all that stuff, and yeah, it's unfortunate because there's a lot of potential there.
It is unfortunate because you lose a lot of people like that. But that again, it ends up anyone who knows it is scared of it because you bring up, hey, public worlds, and you instantly go, oh no.
Yeah.
Whereas anyone who's new to it goes, oh, public worlds,
Anybody,
I get to meet people. Oh, this is a
yeah,
bad idea.
anybody who's experienced with VR chat, the terror of public worlds, because VR chat is an entirely it's very, unless you're showing like straight up nudity, there's pretty very lax rules on it, and so you get the unfiltered of all of the internet, which is it's a lot for a normal person who is just introduced to VR to take in all at once. Phew. I remember Christmas last year or the year before it. 2020's Christmas, where everybody had been dealing with COVID, and then Christmas came along, and everybody was so sick of COVID that they were like, I'm gonna buy a VR headset because fuck, I just need some human contact of any form whatsoever.
Yeah.
I would log into VR chat. I logged in just after Christmas and stuff like that, and the amount of people who were just like, what's going on? Why is Buff Pikachu lap dancing on me right now? I'm scared. Was absolute, for me, it was hilarious. I was I would go into Public Worlds and I would just start dying laughing because of all the people who had just gotten their new VR headsets and were just introducing to VR chat for the first time.
The unfortunate part is it doesn't only extend to public worlds, it also extends to things like Friends Plus worlds. Like, depending what kind of community you're in, it gets pretty edgy.
It gets
Um,
it goes places. Oof
like,
Nuggets is like, I feel like VR chat is the most bizarre choice for your first VR game because there's so many more options to start with. That is true.
I
Uh,
don't think a lot of people go into VR chat as their first game. I find that hard to believe.
when I got
At least nowadays, I think that's harder.
my Oculus Rift when I first bought it, that was one of the first things that was the first things that was suggested to me. Hey, these are popular VR games. Do you want to talk with people? There's VR chat. Bam,
I
that's
think
about it.
I think it used to be that way. I think there's a lot more VR stuff nowadays that's been developed a lot better that appeals to a lot more people. But I feel like if you look at this 2 years ago, you go, what else do you want to do?
There was VR chat, and that was about it. Yeah.
Yeah, like you have
Maybe
VR
it's
chat.
changed by now. I haven't really looked
You
into it since 2020's Christmas,
yeah,
which
like
was
2 years you go you go there's VR chat, there's Beat Saber, and there's a couple other things.
yeah.
Have fun. Whereas nowadays
Yeah.
there's a few more games
You've
that
got
you can.
options, and like I said, it's things like that were introduced, like Wii Bowling, that is really going to get people to
Half
look
Life's
more into
was a
it.
big thing that came up.
Yeah,
With, like,
Half-Life
recently.
Alex, that came with the Index though. That was like
But you can play on any platform,
right, yeah.
so you can still play it. It's just if you have an index,
yeah.
you get the
It was a
ability.
pretty expensive investment if you could get into Half-Life Alex. It was probably I would say it's one of the definitive VR games at this point because it's just so there's just so much to interact with VR wise, and it's kind of just like if you really want to test out the limits of your VR, go play some Half-Life Alex because that's where it's at. That's that
But
has
yeah,
had the most effort put into it in
but
terms
things
of VR.
like that, Walking Dead have come out. Like,
Yeah,
there's been so many other additions to it. Phasmophobia is a huge one that everyone wants to go play on desktop and then go into VR and go scare the
that's
living crap
true.
out of themselves. So like, there's all these other options that like you have now. Whereas back a couple years ago, you look at it and you go, yeah, there's a few things that I could play. Poker
Yeah, there's a few
Stars,
things. Yeah,
VR chat, Beat Saber.
yeah. It
Yeah,
definitely still needs like a mainstream platform to launch off of, in terms of
I
like
just think it needs better developed games by like AAA companies. I
what
think that's what
really
we're missing.
what was really the flag for me was like my uncle introducing me to VR through PlayStation VR. It's like, here, punch some stuff as
PlayStation
Batman.
VR is a good one to
That
jump off
was
of.
insane to me that someone like that who pretty much just has no experience with video games or anything like that was like, I have VR now.
I have VR.
Would you
That's
like
such
to
a
punch
funny
bad guys as Batman?
yeah, it's funny concept is you go from, hey, I don't know anything about this industry, to, hey, VR.
VR. Yeah, exactly. And they're just so into it. They were so excited to because the rest of my family was like, "Nah, I don't want to. I don't know what VR is. I'm scared of it. I don't want to get in there." I was like, "Yes, I will encourage you as much as need. I am ready. Let me become Batman." And it was really funny because all of my family was in there just watching me beat the crap out of, punching bad guys. And they're like, "Oh, is he really seeing that stuff? Are we seeing what he's seeing right now on the screen? Oh goodness, yes, punch him good." It was really funny for my whole family to be involved with a VR experience. Um, so
Especially
just
considering you would have known everything about it prior to going
yeah,
into
no,
it. And
I mean, I was pretty experienced with it. I was just kind of like, wow, this is a pretty. I've played a lot of VR, and I'm really not doing anything right now, and I'm just punching bad guys. And they were like, ooh, ha, hey. They were very excited about it, which was really funny to me.
at least you weren't going to touch up people's faces, Waffles.
listen, VR chat has done things to me that I can't. Horror games in VR is one of the biggest steps you can take in the way of scaring the shite out of yourself? Yes, 100%. Boy, horror games, I will say that is one of the biggest potentials of VR is horror games. Horror games were freaky before. Horror games, while they're right in front of your face and you can move your head and arms, holy shizballs. I cannot handle. Phasmo in VR is a new experience that it's not even phasmophobia is really not even that scary of a game when you're doing it in like desktop. You're kind of just walking around and there's ghosty goo and it's kind of janky, not just to be frank about it. Phasmophobia kind of janky. There's a ghost and it shows up and it kind of just wafts towards you and you're not really the jankiness becomes a bigger part of the game than the actual ghosts themselves. But when you're playing in VR, it's a whole different experience. It is 10 times more terrifying just because of the fact that you kind of feel stuck in the world. Whereas opposed to like with a monitor, you can just look away, you can just not be there. You can't do that in VR really unless you yank off your whole VR headset. You're there.
You have the option to.
You do have the option to, but it's like you are there. You are in the world. You are experiencing this. It doesn't matter how janky as frick the ghost is. It's coming after you and it's gonna murder your face, which is way terrifying. It has so much potential for horror games in VR. Just way more potential. It's crazy. You would never do VR horror, Yellow says, unless you got paid a lot of money. Yellow's like, nope, I'm good.
No,
I feel like a lot of people are the same. A great example of this is the FNAF Help Wanted. Yeah, I was thinking about doing that sometime on my stream, which would be an interesting experience. Because you go from this simple point-and-click survival. Yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's came out with Five Nights at Freddy's like 4, 5, I think it's called Help Wanted, and it went from like this point and click survival to actually you have to like look around, push the button over here, push the button over there, close the doors, there's a Freddy coming after you and you've actually got to like move your whole body as these animatronics are coming for your ass, and it's
yeah, you need to do that, Waffles. You need to continue doing that for your horror.
So much Five Nights at Freddy's. I could not beat Five Nights at Freddy's 2. I don't know how the frick other people have done that. That is holy shizballs. That is a whole new level of having to. One of the worst parts about that kind of game is you have to divide your attention. It's not just about like what's coming at you. It's that 500 things are coming at you and you've got to look around all over the place and there's like, oh, there's somebody coming down this hallway and there's an animatronic over there and there's one over there on the fence and you've got to close that fence and you got to do this and you got to look. And my brain is just like, you could see the steam coming out of my ears as I play Five Nights at Freddy's, and it's like, it's fun, but at the same time, oh my goodness gracious, it's a lot of brain power. But I like it. I actually kind of, I've shat on Five Nights at Freddy's a lot, and I kind of
and
saw
then never want to
like,
go back and touch the game
everybody
again
does
until next
Five
week.
Nights at Freddy's. It's a lame-o horror game that everybody's done. All the kids play Five Nights at Freddy's, and then I played it and I was like, I hate this. Is terrifying. I fucking know. The game is fully based on quick reaction time and recognizing patterns. Exactly. Yes, which is a lot for
Waffles.
For my brain, specifically my brain. Oh, I can't. It's very hard for, if you ever see a YouTuber or a streamer playing Five Nights at Freddy's, give them some props, because to react, to deal with fast reaction times, and to deal with patterns and puzzle solving at the same time, that's a lot to handle all at once. That is too much. Plus, if you had VR added in, holy cow, I don't even want to think about Help Wanted. which
Yeah,
I
it
might
does
be.
bring a.
I might end
It's
up
so
doing
much more
later.
immersive when you have VR on for anything. Well,
Yeah,
as long as it's done properly. That's the key because there's a lot of things that have done it really bad.
yeah. Also entertaining an audience. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. You don't understand how much goes into it until you've
So just
actually
remember, everybody, give
experienced it.
Waffles props every time he plays a horror game.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes,
He's
give me
looking for
props because
praise.
yes, give me all. No, that's okay. No, I'm no, I deserve your
He's
criticism
working
because
around
I
the
am a
idea that he wants
garbage.
praise. Everybody.
I cannot handle those games at all, and I deserve every criticism I get for that
Oh
because
my god.
I just, nope. But maybe I'll do Help Wanted or something. I do want to try and do more VR games on stream because I feel like not a lot of streamers do VR games as much. It's kind of it's 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 hard to set up, it's hard to do, and not a lot of people do VR games for stream. So I kind of wanted to check out that medium and see if I can get that going and make it a little um, introduce some more people to VR. The more people I can introduce to VR, the better. The more people I can hang out with in VR chat, and and
Yeah,
have
we were talking about before this, and we might do it on a future day. Who knows? But doing a
a
podcast in VR
podcast
for
in
one.
VR. Yeah, that would
Nice
be
one of them.
awesome. Yeah, today would have been the perfect day, actually.
Today
I
would have
didn't
been
think
perfect
about it
day.
until like five
I
minutes
didn't
before
think about
stream
it
started. I
either.
was like,
Maybe
we
next
should have
week,
done this
Waffles,
podcast
or
in VR. That would have been
maybe
interesting.
or not maybe next week, but the week after or whatever.
I could
The
be
next
my
podcast.
seal boy. You could be your OC, and then we could just hang out and talk in there. That'd be fun.
Maybe
do
next
know
podcast.
There's
Maybe
there's
next
a
podcast.
few streamers who do like VR podcasts and stuff like that.
That one Rebel does it a lot.
Yeah, Rebel does a lot of podcasts and things like that. He's got like a whole like interview thing and stuff like that. I've seen that a few times. But yeah, I don't know. Any other
Must be the next
topics you want to
podcast.
touch on, Bran, before we explode for the night, before we die?
I think I'm good. I think I got it all out. So
Bran got his brant. He got his brant out. That's what I'm calling it from now on.
I'm just gonna call it that.
Riku came up with the suggestion, and I'm gonna keep it. I'm stealing that. welcome to the brand.
Well, there's not gonna be many of them, but when they do happen, it's probably gonna be pretty bad.
VTubers is a good topic. VTubers is an interesting. Yeah, I mean, I can touch on that briefly.
Do we want to go back down that road for a little bit?
Yeah, well, VTubers is an interesting. VTubers have, because they're not quite entirely VR, and they're not quite, in terms of the 2D avatars
Well,
and things like that.
Let's define what like
Yeah, what is a VTuber?
let's define VTubers because because
That's
we
true.
do
There's
have
several
VR,
different kinds.
well, because you had your VR chat VTubers who do VR chat, and they do have VTuber characters, but they primarily base themselves at a VR chat and use that, and that is VTubing into a sense because you're using virtual reality and using a character, but you also have a lot of VTubers that just standardly
That are just a 2D avatar with
or 3D avatar that are
3D.
doing exactly what we are right now, just
talking or
virtual,
playing
just
a game
not the
or
real
something
face.
like that. Just not the real face, which I'm down for. I think I have nothing against VTubers. I love VTubers. I think that they are.
I hate no.
I fucking hate VTubers, even though like half the
Even though
people
I
I
run-
know, almost everyone I know is a VTuber
Exactly.
in my personal friend circle.
Yeah,
No, I love
yeah.
VTubers. I think that is a perfectly okay. Like I love VTubing. I think that it is just another way for people to connect with other people. If you're into anime avatars and stuff like that, you can find a VTuber and they're going to be it's a very interesting connection of the world of like anime, which is the most popular VTuber, obviously. It's just an anime character and stuff like that. And Twitch and stuff like that is connecting those two together into something that's more real and grounded, and you can chat with this anime character and stuff like that, and they're a real person, I think it's got a lot of potential, and I really am curious to see where that goes.
Again, it's like the concept of like you said prior, it's a lot of creativity that goes into it. You get a lot of ability to create your own personality and stuff and different atmospheres that evolve around you.
Yeah.
Obviously, Hololive and Nisanji are like two big ones that revolve and around this creativity because they basically create this persona that they follow throughout their entire career in that idol group.
Yeah, anybody
Um,
who's experienced with VTubers knows about like Hololive and stuff like that, which is a big
yeah, because unlike some third party VTubers who just create their own and are VTubers, um, who basically create an avatar and say, yeah, this is me, and then just use their own personality as a thing. Hololive and Nisanji just basically takes that to a different level and go, yeah, this is us, and basically create a
Yeah.
character that this is us, and you can't stray away from this being yourself. Like a lot of people that aren't involved with these idol groups can go, yeah, I have a real life personality, but I'm gonna just I might mention it a few times, but half the time I'm gonna be in character. If you're in that idol group, 100% of your concentration has got to be on the fact that this is you entirely, even outside of it. Like
this is who I am. I am anime. I am become one with I that fits Japan's MO like so to a T that there's a reason they're like way ahead of us in terms of VTubing. They're way into that stuff.
It's very interesting because it's just like when you hear these people talk about it, they talk like that's them regardless of what it is.
Yeah, that's
whereas when you hear
avatar.
other VTubers and they talk like, yeah, this is me, but this is also not me.
Western is like, yeah, I'm not anime in real life, but Japan is like, I am anime in real life.
Yeah, exactly.
I am this character. This is who I am, which is,
and it's such an interesting concept just because it's just like, well,
two different approaches, kind of the same thing, but Japan, I think, has an affinity towards that a little more, which is why they were kind of
it
doing
is,
that
but
stuff
it's one of those immersion things. I feel like is that they have higher expectations for their performers again, or what you call idols.
Well, voice acting is already a huge profession in Japan and things like that. In general, it's like there's a lot more people more accustomed to just being a voice behind a character because it's just a huge. Whereas voice acting here,
nice bot.
In this hello bot, no, I'm good. I don't want to become famous. No, could I not become famous? Can I pay you to not make me famous? Thank you. You banned. But yeah, no, there's a huge, that's an entire profession in Japan, whereas a voice actor in the Western side of things is kind of a not realized as very successful. There's definitely those who have succeeded at it, but it's not like an entire industry that is highly looked upon. It's not like we're in Japan where it's like, I'm a voice actor. It's like, oh my gosh. Here in Western, it's like, I'm a Hollywood star. And that's gosh.
It's a very different culture. And then it's also the fact that it's so many of it is just like, oh, look at both you. I think you need to ban 2 more bots.
Yeah, we got to get 2 more bots out of here. Let's get these out of here. I love that you guys remember. There was one bot that came in here a while back that was like, "Want to become Buffoom?" And I was like, "Huh? Yeah, sure. I want to become Buffoom. Heck yeah, I'm ready to become Buffoom."
Somebody doesn't want. Someone really fucked up.
Anyways, we're getting pretty late here. I think this is a good place to stop because we've been going on about three hours or something like that, and I still gotta get dinner, and I never ate dinner today. So, I'm gonna go get some food after we do stream. But it was nice to be able to. Slots also redeemed some nom nom. Thank you, Slots. Yeah. Thank you, Slots. I like nom noms. It's definitely not going to impede on our podcast at all. The fact that I'm going to be eating this delicious granola bar.
ASMR.
But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out and listening to us brant about
Oh my god.
VR for the past 3 hours straight.
It's been 2 hours.
It's a very interesting topic, and I love dealing with that kind of topic because it's just something I've been a part of for, you know, having VR or not. It's just something I've been a part of for the past 5 years of my life. So, it's very interesting to see where it's gone from where it was before,
And where it has potential to go to.
and where it has the potential to go to. Yeah, always a topic I'm very interested in. I've had that topic quite a few times. I've talked about it in VR chat a few times, while also watching a big titty anime character or a Knuckles stare at me. But it is very interesting. I'm really curious. I don't think there's anywhere for it to go but up. I think that it's just going to be a part of mainstream.
I mean, it could go down to the dirt in the next 2 days. Who knows?
I doubt it, but yeah, I mean, it could. It could just all the media shuts it down immediately, and everyone is just like, no, just stay away from VR. But I have high hopes. I don't have high hopes for the Facebook meta, but
We'll see.
Honestly, I hope that dies. I'm not gonna lie. Don't. I'm not a big Facebook fan. Anybody who knows me knows that I
Facebook
don't like Facebook at all. I don't like any of that stuff, and anything that they do, I hope burns in a fire. But you know, that's my personal opinion, and
Fair enough.
you know, I still think there's a lot of potential for it to go forward. So let's find somebody to raid so that I can go eat something besides a granola bar.
Yeah.
Which I do appreciate. Thank you, Sloss.
Maybe we'll become VTubers next time, next episode.
Yeah, we'll become VTubers. We'll be the best VTubers you've ever seen.
For one episode. And then never again.
I've watched a few of those Japanese VTubers. I can't understand what's going on. Because some of the VTubers for Japanese kind of just scream in a very distracting voice that I'm just like, I don't know what's happening. And it's hard for me to keep track of what's going on. But sometimes it's funny. I was watching one VTuber the other day. They were playing like Banjo-Kazooie, and every time they went to pick up like one of the things, they would go "Ikam Bokum," and that was really funny to me because Banjo-Kazooie is one of my favorite games of all time. So I just watched them, and they'd pick up the thing and they go "Ikam Bokum," because the guy goes "Ikam Bokum," and seeing a tiny Japanese girl say "Ikam Bokum" was really funny to me. Chachi's playing Elden Ring. We'll go raid Chachi. Chachi's hanging out right now, so guys, go give Chachi some love. Corone, was that their name?
Was that? Were you watching the doggo? Were you watching the Hololive doggo?
I don't know who it was. I just remember somebody going "Ika Bokum." It was super funny to hear a Japanese person go like "Ika Bokum." It was super funny to me. Go give Chachi some love, guys. Thank you for hanging out and listening to us talk about VR for the past couple hours. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing some kind of stream. I don't know what it's going to be.
He's going to be streaming everything.
Yeah, I'm going to be streaming everything all at once. We're going to have like 10 streams going on at the same time.
On OnlyFans. Remember, that's where it is happening.
Everything going on all at once. Yes, totally.
Go follow Waffles at onlyfans.com/waffles.
Yep, you heard him here, guys. You heard him. Bye, everybody.
See you later. Oh.
How do I end stream? How do I end stream, Brand?